Tabletop Tactics, and welcome to another of these Grotmas Advent Calendar Detachment videos. I really like this detachment. It's for the Astra Militarum and they're very close to my heart. And also specifically in this detachment, the Scions. The Scions get a little bit of a glow up and a detachment kind of purpose built for them, it seems, which is very interesting because as we all know, we are fast approaching a potential codex release, especially with the reveals of all the Krieg and stuff from the Warhammer previews. So it's all very exciting for Guard fans. So this is a nice little starter dish, I suppose, before we then potentially get loads of new detachments in the codex, which also sort of frames how some of these units might be working as we go forwards and if any changes will happen. The detachment is called the Bridgehead Strike. So let's have a look at what is contained within its tome. The Bridgehead Strike army rule is called Only the Best. Now this gives Astra Militarum infantry models reroll ones to hit, which is very, very nice indeed, especially for stuff that isn't Scions, because they kind of have that already. So thinking like your Kasarkin, your regular infantrymen, things like that, to help support the Scions. The reason why I keep mentioning Scions is because in this detachment, if a Scions officer or a Tempestus officer is your warlord, then you get extra OC to Scions units. So that includes your Aquilons and your basic infantry. And we already know as Guard fans that if you're running an Scions officer as your warlord, currently you do then get to make them battle line, which is very, very nice. I say currently because we don't know what the codex will hold. But potentially the super spicy bit of this army roll is Fire Zone Purge. This means that when you set up a Scions unit, so that could be from Deep Strike, Strategic Reserve, or jumping out of a transport, they get +1 to the wound roll. And that's specifically for Militarum Tempestus units. That's really quite savage. Now we know how the Talrox Prime works in that it gets you sort of like fire support rules. If it marks something, you can then re-roll the wound rolls. Suddenly deep striking Scions are just getting +1 to wound anyway. Then if they have Disimpart from a Talrox Prime, they're getting both of those abilities. That's really savage, especially if something's on an objective and you're re-rolling hits as well. It makes the Scions really punchy, especially because their guns are quite low strength when they've got so many hotshot las guns. But now, they're really quite interesting. We also have some interesting enhancements to boost those Scions even further. Enhancements-wise, the first up is the Bombast class Vox Array, which is essentially exploding orders, which is very, very fun indeed. So if you have an officer unit that has a Master of Vox in there, you can then issue additional 3 orders, which is very, very nice indeed. It's quite a pricey enhancement, but orders are very, very useful in a Guard army. They help you just do what you do even better. We then have Priority Drop Beacon, another quite pricey enhancement that can be put on an officer model. So his unit can then deep strike in the first, second, or third battle rounds from reinforcement. That's very nice. We know how helpful a turn 1 deep strike can be, because sometimes opponents aren't expecting it and maybe over sort of extend in the first battle round, so it allows you to find little pockets of space, or before they've even taken some of the no man's land, you can set up a unit of Scions exactly where you want them that will then gain all the benefits from the Fire Zone Purge. Next up, we have the Shroud Projector. This stops someone overwatching the unit that has the enhancement. Again, quite nice if you are deep striking or jumping out of a vehicle, because effectively if someone's got some flamers, which are very good at barbecuing Scions and as guardsmen in general, if you jump out of a Valkyrie with all your plasma guns and all your accoutrements, they can't barbecue you. That's quite nice, because you can then barbecue them with hotshot lads, no less. And then finally from enhancements, we have Advanced Augury, which allows you to redeploy 3 regiment units. Now this can put them back in Strategic Reserve, despite how many units you might already have in Strategic Reserve. I really like this, because it allows you to potentially, if you also have another enhancement, possibly put down your unit with the turn 1 deep strike on the board, draw your opponent in the deployment, and then send them up into the sky to then reappear somewhere in turn 1. It's a really nice little combination if you want to do both enhancements. If not, being able to redeploy is always so, so powerful. And being able to just put down your units in effective positions so your opponent has to think about dealing with them, and then being able to send them back into the skies so that they can deep strike later is such a nice play and helps keep the Scions alive and allow them to get those Fire Zone Purges where they want them. In terms of helping them get those Fire Zone drops then, we then have a good suite of stratagems. First up is the Bellicosa drop. That effectively allows you to, with a normal Scions unit, deep strike within 6. I know the Aquilons kind of have this anyway, and those rules have changed somewhat with the balanced data slate, but this is kind of reflecting that with a 6-inch deep strike. You then can't charge. Next up is Firing Hot! Yes, Firing Hot! This is very, very nice. So it applies to Tempestus Scions and Kasakin and effectively gives all of your hotshot arsenal, so your hotshot carbines, your hotshot las guns, hotshot rifles, volley guns, all the rest of it, extra strength and AP. Yeah, that's really nice with the +1 to wound. Giving them the extra strength, then a +1 to wound, plus AP2 on a lot of these weapons. Suddenly your basic hotshot weaponry, if you're positioned correctly with your Scions, is really, really quite devastating. The more and more I'm exploring this detachment, the more I'm liking it, and I do love the Scions, so I'm excited to see it they're back in kind of a big way. We then have Fire and Relocate, which allows you to advance and shoot. Fairly straightforward this one, but also nice at getting some more movement out of those Scions, especially if you want to make a dash for an objective, but you also want to still be getting off your shots because you want to just be able to maximize the potential from those Scions before they do inevitably meet a horrible demise. We then also have servo designators. This ties nicely with firing hot if you use them as like a little bit of a wombo combo. Effectively, after you shoot something, you can use this stratagem to deny the unit you shot from having cover. That's very nice if you then want to shoot them with a particularly firing hot unit that might have arrived from Deep Strike. So you can see the kind of combos you can do here, which allows you to get so much out of your hotshot lads. We then also have aerial extraction. I like to think of like this, like from Metal Gear Solid 5, and you just pew, and the balloon takes you into the sky. But effectively, if you're a Valkyrie or a unit with Deep Strike, if you're not within engagement range, you can return to strategic reserves. We then have potentially my new favorite stratagem in the whole game. Now, Guard often have stratagems I enjoy thoroughly, but this, it's fantastic. It's called On My Position. How this works is at the end of your opponent's fight phase, if you have a unit in engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can choose to fire on their position. What this does, you roll a d6 for each of the units you're in engagement range of. On a 2+, the enemy suffers d6 mortal wounds. You do then suffer 3d3 mortal wounds, so it's very much like a final hurrah, sort of twisting the knife at the last moment. It feels very, very Guard. It's a very, very nice stratagem, and I like how all of these work together to give you a really nice toolkit to push the theme of the detachment just in a really nice direction. Overall then, what do I think of this detachment? Well, I personally love it. This detachment really helps build that fluff of a Tempestus strike force. Ultimate Black Ops Special Forces kind of unit. And actually, rules-wise, it really glows them up. I've tried to run the Scions before. If you haven't checked it out on demand, I've tried many times to run just pure Scions. To middling effects in 10th edition, but this I feel really gives them some teeth. The +1 to wound with the Fire Zone Purge is really, really nice, especially if you're getting in and out of transports, which is what you want to kind of do as Scions, or you're deep striking with them. And the stratagems and enhancements that allow you to kind of go back up and come back down means you're constantly triggering that benefit from your army rule or your detachment rule, which is so, so useful and making the Scions do what they should be doing and should have been doing all along. So I kind of feel like they're back on the menu in a way. Now I'm going to try and run this detachment as soon as I can. If you haven't already, please consider signing up to On Demand, because that'll be where we likely show it first. So you'll be able to see how this actually performs in practice on a battlefield. But until next time, hit subscribe, because we're going to be doing these detachments every single day of the Grotmas Calendar, as well as covering all the other changes that come out for Warhammer 40,000 as soon as we can. Until next time, I've been James Jordan the Bard. We have been Tabletop Tactics, and we'll see you tomorrow for another one of these fantastic videos. Bye-bye.
Enjoying today's video? Here's a quick look at what we've released this week for our on-demand members. These videos join a huge library of exclusive content that grows every week for our on-demand community. If you want instant access to all of these videos and more, head over to tabletoptactics.tv or download our app and sign up today. And currently, we have an introductory offer for new customers, so there's never been a better time to join On Demand.